Greetings. Hello, health, and blessings. Welcome to episode 13. I am having a look here because I would like to share some information from volume 1 of my Wadjet Yoga book tonight. So here we go. Welcome. I am Raven, aka the Fly Priestess. I am the creator of Wadjet Yoga. I am the author of Wadjet Yoga volumes 1 through 6. And I am the host of your podcast. This is Return of WADJEDI. And we're going to get into that tonight. So tonight is the first in a seven series of the chakras. So we're going to talk about chakras. We're actually going to talk about more than 7 chakras because there are more, but we are going to cover the major ones that are known to most people. And we're in the process of our talk, we're going to discuss all of the ones that, all of the ones in there. The ones from there, some people say it's 12, in some systems it's 14, in some systems it's 16, in some systems 7, some systems 8. So we'll cover all the reasons for all of those things and have a little more. So thank you for tuning in. For if you are here, thank you for joining, and let us go ahead and jump in. So I have some notes with me for today because I can talk all day. No, I don't have an overactive throat chakra, but I definitely can talk all day because I am a Sagittarius. So I wrote myself some notes because I want to stay focused and on topic. And once I get there, if anybody who is listening happens to have any questions or anything like that, please jump in. If you are watching this podcast after the fact, then please feel free to message me at Fly Priestess on Instagram, or my page, Temple of the Green Goddess, or the Fly Priestess on YouTube. And let us go ahead and begin. Let's jump in here. So first, let me just give you a little bit about me. So again, this is Return of WADJEDI, Serpent Power Podcast. So here we are dedicated to exploring serpent energy science. And this is for everyone to achieve the highest levels of fitness, to get emotional wellness, to have sexual health, financial prosperity, healing, and spiritual mastery. These are the encompassing factors that basically make up all of the areas of life, just like kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. These are the areas of life. All of these are covered, and there is serpent power energy. There's a way to bring life force energy into all of these different areas so that you can live the best possible life with the most vitality, the most amount of connection and love and joy that you can have. So our world is super fast paced now. It is very easy to lose touch with our inner selves, lose touch with our well-being. It is very easy to lose touch with, hey, peace, blessings, peace. Very easy to lose our way. And so even for people who are involved in some sort of spiritual practice, no matter what your spiritual practice is, whether it's yoga or connected to yoga, whether you have a certain spiritual system or religion that you follow, it is very easy because there is so much in the world these days. There's so much bombarding us, so much distracting us, and it's very easy to disconnect. And what happens first is often what we do is disconnect from the basics. We disconnect from, so I'm talking about serpent power. And as a person, I've been a priestess for 40 years now. Yes, I look younger than I am. I've been a priestess for a very long time. I've been studying yoga since I was in my teens. And I have covered over and over, cycles of energy, cycles of different energy movements, of different understandings, of different knowledge of how energy moves and connects throughout the body, and how our energy connects to the world around us through our auric field, through our chakras and things like that, through the timelines of our past and our present and future. And what happens is, what we tend to do is to go away from those basics whenever we have little time, or when our time is scattered, or our energy is scattered, or our intentions are scattered. What we do is go far away from the basics of our spiritual practice. So what I'm going to do by reintroducing Wadjet Yoga, is to bring us back to those basics. So a lot of people may say, oh, I don't have to tune into that. I already know about chakras. Everybody talks about chakras. Because everybody talks about chakras, that is one of the main reasons that we want to discuss it today. It is really important to go back to this basic, because going back to the places where we all think we already know everything there is to know about that. A lot of times when we dive back in, self included, when we dive back in, we find that there are new things that we have to discover that only come to us because we are at a level of our own spiritual development, our place in our own cycle where we can receive that information. So if sometimes information comes to us and we are just not ready for it, that's not our space, it's not our time, and that information will either never even arrive to us at all, it'll fly right over our head, or that information will just completely be like crazy. We just won't understand. And so right now, we're circling back to this. So if you're listening to this, if you're here, if you want to hear this, this means that there's something to do with the chakras and how they function that has some benefit for you. So welcome, glad you're here. And let's go ahead and jump in. So today we're going to be discussing the root chakra. You know, it's always great to start with the root. I personally used to prefer starting with the crown, because some people arrive, into their energy field crown down, and some people arrive root up. But just like a fetus doesn't start as an adult and then crawl back down into fetus, we're going to start at the beginning and we're going to go from there. So let me jump in. So I'm going to cover some of the basics. So for anybody who is new to my channel, Wadjet Yoga is a serpent power yoga. Same as I mentioned, this is a system of yoga that I created. I am a certified Kundalini yoga teacher. And in the process of these many years of doing the Kundalini, aka Wadjet, Kundalini is her name in Hindu pantheon and spirituality, spiritual system, and the equivalent goddess in the Kemetic tradition is called Wadjet. And Wadjet is the one who you see. She is the serpent goddess, the cobra, who comes out of the king's crown, the queen's crown. And that is because as the serpent power energy moves up the body, it moves up the body and it comes to rest around in the front. And once it arrives, not at the crown, but once it arrives here, that is when enlightenment is considered to have happened. Enlightenment does not consider when you reach the crown, because the crown is a source to connect you to divinity. But if you connect to divinity and then you don't draw that divinity down into you, you still haven't accomplished anything. So you have taken your own self and your own spirit and made your own personal connection. But until you bring that energy down from the divine and bring it out through here, so that your vision, your intention, your directions for the world, which are now connected to divine energy, when they are touching and expressing themselves out into the world around you, then you are considered to be enlightened and actualized, and not before that. So we're going to talk about the reason why we're starting back with the chakras in this series is because we're going to talk about all of the ways that raising serpent power energy affects the different chakras, affects the different points in the field going all the way up. And once the serpent power energy comes up the body, it also comes back all the way down and around the body in a completed cycle and goes around back into to store itself in the perineum, in between the genitals and the anus. So let us jump in. So for those of us who are new and are not really familiar with the chakras, or you may have heard of chakras before and you're not quite familiar, I'm going to go all the way back. So if you know all this stuff already, and just bear with me. So the root chakra is, guess what color? Red. Red is the lowest vibrating color in the frequency in this particular spectrum of our earth plane existence. It's the lowest that is also visible to us with our visual spectrum. So red is the vibrating color. Chakra is associated with the sense of smell. All chakras are associated with a sense, with a particular sense. And there are more than 5 senses, many, many more than 5 senses, actually. Sense of humor, sense of direction. There are a lot more than 5 senses. Your sense that somebody is watching you from across the room and touching and feeling into your back. All of these things are senses, but the typical ones are the 5, but there are definitely much more than that. So we'll go over what each of the chakras connects to, and also connect and speak about why. So the root chakra connects to the sense of smell. All chakras are also associated with a particular planet. They have particular signs that are associated with them. They're associated with particular organs in the body, as well as certain hormones, connected to certain organs and organ systems. There is a particular point in the body exactly at which the chakra is found, where it can pinpoint directly into the body. There is each chakra is like a funnel shaped. It's like a funnel shape with little things on top that look like pods. And this is how they look when they spin. And that spin draws energy, pranic energy, in and out. And so we'll discuss what pranic energy is in just a moment. So I'm going to go down this list and describe the rest of them to you, all of the aspects of the root. And then we'll go over how they look, how they spin, how they work, and basically the physiology of the chakras. So there's a location, and then each one also has a certain type of personality trait based on when the chakra is healthy and full and open and spinning in a healthy way. There is a different level. So we have healthy up top, and then we have either highly overactive, highly underactive, which are, a spectrum together. And then we have at the bottom, we have just completely blocked, just completely shut off. So each of those energies are both a sign and a symptom and a reflection of different states of health in our body and in our social behavior, and our behavior towards ourselves and our behavior with others. So the root chakra color is red. The sense is smell. It is connected to Mars, Pluto, and Saturn, as well as to Taurus, Scorpio, and Capricorn. And the root is associated with the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands, when you think about it, adrenal glands have to do with what? Fight or flight. So the root chakra is associated with survival needs, the need to eat, sleep, reproduce, and anything to do with just our basic survival, to the basics of being alive. And so the adrenal glands are what has control over our fight or flight. And of course, noradrenaline and adrenaline, and as well as adrenochrome. And adrenochrome is going to be the topic of a later podcast. So we'll talk about that some more. But adrenochrome, noradrenaline, and adrenaline. The root chakra is associated with the spine, with bones, with teeth, and nails. And as it's connected to the spine, the root chakra is the original source, the origin point where the serpent power energy comes through. In fact, the root chakra is located, it is connected to the anus, and it is connected to the coccyx, which is the tailbone. And right from this place in the coccyx, in the tailbone, this is the place where serpent power energy is stored, dormant. And once we go through awakenings, whether we invite that awakening into our lives or whether it happens to us accidentally, that is the place where it awakens from. And so when this happens to us, there are different levels of sensations that take place when we're going through that. So the appearance of the root chakra is a 4-petaled lotus. So, and this is the way it's drawn. So it's most common to be seen drawn in Hindu art. So it's drawn as a flower. In Kemetic art, there are also drawings, but Kemetic symbolism for the different energy centers of the body is the art for that is very different. And a lot of times, because modern thought process has gone so far in a different direction from the central ideologies of how Kemetic understanding of the world, how Kemetic philosophy and how Kemetic science are, that trying to decode the symbolism that they use isn't always that easy. So you would have to look at something and then be able to decode it once you understood their culture. But using the lotus flower symbolism, as the Hindus use, is much, much easier, and it's very common today. So we'll use those. So it's a 4-petaled lotus, and it is pointing downward from the body. So there are chakras which are pointing upward. For up here, it's pointing upward. The chakra is pointing downward, down into the earth. And we have other chakras which point out the front of our body and also point out the back of our body. So this particular one happens to point downward. It is a funnel shape. Now, there's a lot of conversation back and forth between whether the chakras spin clockwise, whether they spin counterclockwise. There is misinformation and misconception that the chakras spin because there are the energies, the Wadjet and Nekabet energies, or the Osset and Nebutet energies, or the Ida and Pingala, as they're called, in Serpent power. Those are the red and blue polarities that go up. So there's an electric polarity and a magnetic polarity, and those go up and they circle up the body and wind through the chakras and go up from the root up to the crown. And there are misconceptions that the chakras spin in alternate directions depending on which Ida or Pingala, which thing is going up, and that is absolutely not true. So here we go. So we're going into the misconceptions of the chakras already. So the chakras actually have an overlay. So the chakras are set so that we have a lotus spinning here, and then there's another one inside of it. So all of the chakras are multi-layered. So they're just like how flowers have more than one layer of petals coming out of them. The chakras have more than one layer of petals, and they're spinning in alternate directions. So this particular action allows the chakra to create a vortex. So as it spins, there's a vortex. So it's able to pull energy in out from the atmosphere, out from the field around us, and it's able to push energy outward. So in children, the chakras are very small, and in people who have no spiritual development whatsoever, people who don't treat their bodies very well, people who are ill, who are physically ill, and people who are underdeveloped in any way, spiritually underdeveloped or physically underdeveloped. So and that doesn't mean negative. Underdeveloped children are not fully developed adults. So they are fully developed for the level that they're at, but they're not fully developed. And neither are their chakras. Their brain, their hands, their feet, their words, their abilities are not fully developed, fully actualized. And so their chakras likewise are not fully developed. So their chakras look more like little flower buds. They're folded over, and the petals are not fully formed. So it's more like a little bud, and the little bud is designed to pull energy in. So somebody who's young, baby or a small child, their chakras are designed because they're in the process of building their life force. So while they're building life force, they are drawing energy in, because that's the natural order of things. They're drawing energy in. Later, as they become more developed, they begin, and the chakra itself, as the rest of their body and spiritual fields become more developed, the chakras develop and they start to, the petals open fully, and now the petals are spinning, and now they have 2 sets of petals. So as the 2 sets of petals are spinning, they're able to emit energy and draw in energy at an equal level. So as people develop the capacity for their spiritual power, for their spiritual empowerment, their serpent power awakening, no matter what level of spiritual system or spiritual way, using dedication and devotion to a spiritual path helps to build these metaphysical muscles and open them up. And so the chakra begins to emit more energy than it takes in. So because there's when we open ourselves, when there's serpent power energy, which means the energy we're an open vessel for life force energy to pour in from the universe into our being. Once that's happening, we now have the ability to draw in force. So that force is drawn down into us, and then that force is emitted out into the world. It's expressed out into the world around us. So the chakras are equally taking in and out, and the more developed we become, the bigger the chakras grow, And the more they are able to emit energy, and the less energy they need to draw back in from this earth plane around us. So it is important to, as the chakras grow, to develop very, very important to develop powerful shielding methods, because as we've all felt before, especially on a spiritual journey, sometimes we may say something to someone, for example, so if we go up to the throat, if we jump away from the root for a second here, if we go up to the throat, we can go to someone and tell them something very personal and private about us that is just a sacred secret that we have between us and them. And suppose they go and they tell that secret to someone else, or they take that secret and they use it against us. So now what's happened is, because we didn't keep that to ourselves, we didn't hold it, we didn't shield ourselves, we didn't create a way that was private and that was just for us. Now this person has violated and caused some kind of interference with our thought process, with our emotions, or with something that we wanted to do. And so the important thing to do there is to just be careful with how we share our energy out. So the most important thing, as we are on the spiritual path, not the most important thing, but of equal importance to the other aspects of the path, the equal to the growth and to the focus and the intention of our own growth, is also shielding. Just like we have skin on the outside of our body, we have shields around us. It makes sense. It's not something that's fear-based, and it shouldn't be fear-based, because as long as we are moving in accordance with divine balance, or with some level of balance, we don't need to be afraid of anything. So we just need to be focused and intentional. So we need to set up that boundary around us by creating a shield. So as we work on our root chakra, as we develop our root chakra, and we open ourselves up and make our centers ready for emitting more life force, for drawing pranic energy in from the universe, and for emitting that out into the world and becoming incredibly healthy. And we'll talk about it in just a second, what good health looks like as far as the root chakra is concerned. But incredibly important, I cannot stress enough, if you have any blockages, if your chakras are weak, if this is something that you know about already, and you know that your chakras are weak or blocked and you're not quite sure what to do about it, this is something that the place to begin, is to start to put a shield around you. So any work that you do should always be within a protected space, within a confine of a protected space. If you're trying to learn to swim, you don't take somebody and you have them drop you out in the middle of the ocean where there are sharks and whales and things like that. You start in a swimming pool, and you start somewhere safe and enclosed and small, so that you can master your abilities before you take them out into a bigger open space where there are lots of other interactions possible. So what you want to do first is to seal your space. And if you go, let's see, I'll send a link, actually in the comments here, so that if anybody wants a really great and very simple protection shield that they can use while they work on their chakras, I'll share that in the link below. So going back to this now, anybody who is concerned with getting their root chakra in great order knows that first, the most important thing to do is open that up, seal that protection, and then pull that life force energy into there. And a root chakra that has been filled with a comfortable, healthy amount of life force, meaning that, let's say we were born into a world where we had a happy family, we lived in a happy place or neighborhood. We have an extended family all around us. We have different personalities to interact with. And we have parents, 2 or more parents who love us greatly. And when I say 2 or more parents, there are all different types of families all over the world. And there are blended families. And so there are all many levels of families. So at the bare minimum, we should hope for 2 parents who love us dearly. And then if not, besides including grandparents on both sides and things like that. So we want a family who all loves us, who is devoted to raising us and to making us aware. We're made to be comfortable in the world. We feel as though we belong. We feel as though we have the deep sense of belonging. We have a space where we've come into where we are valued while we are growing, while we're developing, while we make mistakes, while we learn life. We are still valued just for our existence. Our needs are met. Our basic needs are met. Nobody is angry to have to meet our needs. They meet our needs with love, with concern, with compassion. And so this is the ideal soil for creating that root chakra, that healthy root chakra in. These are the ideal situations. Siblings, just, great and a nice family. We're raised eating healthy food that feel good inside of us. They give us energy, and we get plenty of sunlight. We move around. Our physical bodies are free to move at whatever level of capacity that they have available. So all of these things, those are all healthy root development. Healthy root chakra development is made of those things. Many, many more, but those are just the basics. So let's say, like someone like myself who had a difficult childhood that was, where those were not the circumstances. So without going in details, because that'll probably be a whole other episode, we'll talk about stuff like that. But let's say we come out with less than the ideal, and we have less family members who are supporting us, people who are tired, people who may be emotionally or some level of damaged in their own right, and who don't have the best ability to connect with us in love in the way that we need. And different energies like that can create issues with the root. So we may have to grow up faster than we wanted to. Just many. There are so many scenarios that can make this thing go wrong. In fact, it's very common for these scenarios. Please, if you did not grow up with that little, the perfect, quote, perfect upbringing to develop your root chakra, remember that part of your soul contract for coming here probably included some degree of that damage, so that you could learn your way forward, so that you could learn how to put yourself back together. A lot of our purpose here on earth is about learning through, if we have everything, if we arrive with everything and we have everything, then what is there to learn on the way? So something has to go wrong somewhere, or else we just came down here just to chill and have fun in a body and then go back upstairs again. And that's not most people's life cycle. So let's address the people whose life cycles look like this. So if there's any blockage that's created, blockages come from not having our needs met as children. Sometimes when our lives are repeated, when our childhoods are just repeated examples of not having needs met, whether the needs are for nurturing, for support, for our physical needs, whether we're left alone often, all these type of things. Yeah, those contract details. I suggest getting yourself a good lawyer on the other side before you incarnate. But just in case you didn't, and you got down here and realized, oh, it's going to be a tough ride again. Here's some ways to help it go a little more smoothly. So if you constantly don't have your needs met, if you have done something, let's say that your parent or parents who arrived here with some level of damage that was not completed and healed and made perfect again and whole before your birth, and they are reflecting their own damage to you as a child. Let's say that you get into a state like this. Let's suppose, for example, you are born into a family, you choose a family that has religious views where touching your body or being naked or things like that are considered shameful and dirty. And let's say you like being naked, you love your body, you feel good, you're 3 and you love running around being naked, and you are given a spanking and you are made to feel ashamed that your body is naked and that you should, and you're taught that you should not be like that and it's not okay. And you start to develop shame. And if you do any type of actions, especially if these things happen repeatedly, so once or twice are things that can stay in the energy field, but it usually takes some sort of consistent tone in parenting in order to develop things like shame, or some negative experience happened somewhere in the childhood. Usually before the age of 7, some type of experience happened where it caused you to feel deep shame. And shame is an easy way. That is one of the most powerful and sad ways that a root chakra can become blocked. So there, like, again, I said, so we have healthy here, we have blocked down here, and then we have the spectrum this way of from all the way from overactive to underactive, but blocked is its own thing. So that usually is born from different energies. So when it's completely blocked, it takes different levels of work to unblock a closed root chakra. It is a pretty severe thing, and no one thing is worse. Underactive is better than fully blocked, but underactive has its own issues, its own positive and negatives. Overactive has its own positive and negatives. Healthy, of course, is the best, the optimal we're all searching for, and blocked has its own, I wouldn't call them positives, but blocked is a space of where we have lessons, where we have something that we can overcome, where we can understand ourselves, where we can come to understand that root and how to function, and there's a lot to overcome often. So, and also, although it is although the sacral chakra it directly connects to sexuality, any kind of sexual damage in a child also causes severe damage in the root chakra, very specifically in the root chakra. The pleasure side of sexuality and creativity are in the sacral chakra and the second chakra, but the root chakra actually contains the energy of sex, because sex is another survival. Reproducing ourselves is a survival, a means of survival. So we never leave, we never, as long as we have children, we pass on, our genetics to them. So just in basic survival level, sexuality at that level is a survival. And if somebody damages that damages our survival. If somebody is sexually assaulted, molested, or touched in any way before the age of 7, that also translates into severe shame and issues with boundaries that may show up all through later life, especially when those things are not addressed with gentleness, kindness, and love, and with courage from within to be able to express that out and release it, which often in the case for people who experience sexual trauma before the age of 7, they're not in a position to where they're not surrounded by people who care or understand how to heal them. Sometimes they're around people, the very people that cause the harm, or the people who brought them in the situation of harm, and then that situation may have them lost in their own guilt, and so they neglect the child's needs for clearing and release of trauma in order to wallow in their own guilt, and then sometimes they just don't know what it is that the child needs in order to get better, so that any wound that is lodged into the body, but it stays there until we release it. So it can be 95. If you never healed the childhood trauma, then it's still locked in there somewhere. Traumas don't go anywhere just because you age. They become encoded in your DNA, and they become passed down to the next cell, so that the next cell can continue to carry the energy, because our cells are all responsible little soldiers who are basically just here to do whatever it is exactly that we want them to do. So if we continue to vibrate trauma, they will continue to vibrate trauma in obedience to us. And so the root, again, so going back to the root, any type of childhood trauma, also physical abuse, is a terrible but sure way to cause damage in the root chakra. Physical abuse wears down; it wears into a person's self-worth. It makes a person feel not valued, makes a child feel not valued, and children ought naturally. Everybody is born with some degree of a healthy root chakra. So we are born a lot of times with ancestral trauma, ancestral wounds, but those ancestral wounds that come in through our DNA, through our epigenetic DNA, those wounds will, if we come into a healthy, happy life, that DNA will not activate. it may be passed on to our children. And sometimes we may find that we have a child, if we come into a difficult circumstance, we may give birth to a child who is expressing signs of trauma, and we're wondering, like, what on earth happened? Like, why is this kid behaving like this? And not realize that the epigenetic trauma that bypassed us, because we may have been born into a healthy circumstance, this trauma still seeks release and healing. All traumas seek release and healing. So if they didn't find that in you, it may be birthed into your children and then come out through them as a trauma that still needs healing. And so be aware that whatever the person that you're looking at, this child you're looking at as you parent and raise your children, just because they are being raised by you and you're thinking, oh, I'm covering all the bases, I'm raising them just the way I want, they still arrive with a full code of how they are supposed to be and what it is their destiny to unravel and unfold and to learn while they're here. So anything, and remember, anything from the past, from their side or from your family lineage or through the other parent's family lineage, they may be that particular child who was here to clear and cleanse the family line. So stuff may show up, and it'll show up through, and it can manifest through any of the chakras. So depending again on what type of childhood upbringing, whether it was traumatic, whether it was happy, whether it was bland and really kind of nondescript, something is coming through. Something comes through at some point in the life that connects with one of the chakras during its development, and then these are things that have to be worked through, and they'll come through. So swinging back around, let me see, let's make sure we're good on time here. Back to our root. So I didn't finish mentioning too, I wanted to just be sure to mention the root also. So just a couple of misconceptions I wanted to cover. The root chakra is said to be in the perineum. The perineum is right in between the genitals and the anus. The root chakra is located there in men, in biological men. And the root chakra is located at the cervix in women. So again, this is another reason, if a woman has experienced, or a girl has experienced, a woman has experienced in her childhood, has experienced any type of sexual violence or molestation or touching, anything, if it did touch her cervix, this will cause root chakra damage there, because the body, especially at the stage of development, it will cause and will take deep work in order to release that from out of there. Let's see. Oh, also the chakras, there are 7 chakras. This is also something that's not very common. So a lot of people think, oh yeah, I know all about chakras. It's 7, blah, 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 red, orange, blue, yellow, green, pink, blue. And there's a lot more to the chakras than there are also these little details, along the sides that we often don't speak about, don't talk about, or we just don't even use them anymore. So the chakras become like this forgotten language. Like we kind of know it, but if we had to speak it, in detail to somebody, then it'd be like, oh, I forgot that one word. So there's a lot more to know. So the chakras, there are 7 chakras below the root. So they're in, and so again, this is with different. There are different systems that express different things. So in the Kemetic system and the Taoist system, there are 14 points along the body from the front to the back, and those points can be called chakras. They are energy centers. They do not all look and shape in some of the things that people consider to be chakras do not look like, are not shaped like, and do not function like chakras, but they are energy centers. So there's an important distinction to make there between what is a chakra and what is not. So there are 7 chakras below the root chakra, and these are extensions of the root chakra that actually have openings that open out into different vibrational dimensions that are below this 3D earth dimension. So there are chakras that connect with, like, for example, the crystal realm. There are chakras that connect with the there is a chakra a root chakra that connects with the crystal realm. There's a root chakra that connects with the insect realm, and there are others here. I'll get the names and I'll put them in the comments also of the different Indian names, and the Kemetic names. I have found the research and I have found some of the names for them, but again, it is a lot of times very difficult translating specifically what, even though they were so detailed and so careful, a lot of the work of the Kemites has still been held by the Vatican, and that's a whole other conversation I'm not going to go into tonight either. A lot of the information, a lot of the books, a lot of the things that were found, the scrolls, that information is being withheld from the public, so it's also difficult to get to some of them. And then of the works that it is possible to get to, a lot of the things have symbolism that is, again, very uncommon, and so it's easy to not be clear quite what what it is that they consider, whether when they talk about an energy center, whether they're talking specifically about a chakra or whether they're talking about an energy point. For example, we have chakras in our hands, we have chakras in there, we have chakras at our fingertips, each of our joints has chakras, etc. So we have chakras all over. There are actually 88,000 chakras in the body, and the ones that everybody argues over, the number of them, there's 7, there's 8, no, there's 14. Those are just the main energy centers. They don't even begin to go off into the massive number of smaller points that are circulating around the body. But those points get to be counted as chakras because they are shaped like chakras. They are fall funnel shaped, and they have petals that spin clockwise and counterclockwise to each other inside their own center. And so if they're anatomically chakras and they would draw in energy and emit energy in the same way, then they count as chakras. So yes, 88,000 altogether. And so let me see. Oh, and the places where they're located too. So the root chakra also vibrates and covers the area of the body of the intestines, the prostate gland, the blood, and again, I think I mentioned already, the spine, the bones, the teeth and nails, and the anus and coccyx and tailbone, which is the tailbone. So those are all the areas of the root. And so there was something that I wanted to share here from the Wadjet Yoga, and this is from my volume 1, Understanding Serpent Power. All right, so let me see here. If we go to the root and talk about the spine. Okay, so I'm just going to read a little bit of this for you here. So the foundation of Wadjet Yoga is the release of blockages and the unsealing of the spine in order for the serpent power to pass unimpeded through each disc, so that it can rise the 33 degrees up the spinal column and neck, and to pass into the cranial pump, which carries the serpent energy up into the crown of the head and over into the pineal gland. There are 7 seals along the spine and head, and another 7 which pass down the front of the body and back to the perineum, where the serpent energy lies dormant. It is not an accident that Asar, the king of the underworld, who is represented by the Jed pillar, and remember, we are the WADJEDI. Jed is about the Jed pillar, and this pillar in Kemet is the seal, and it represents the spine. And so the spine, we know that this is the place where the serpent power resides and where it opens up and it floods into the rest of our body through this channel. So if the Jed is not in order, then the rest of the body can't be in order either. The Jed, Asar was dismembered into 14 pieces by his jealous brother Set in one of the African initiatory tales. And it is no accident that there are 14 gates in the Book of Gates. And again, these 14, so in the Kemetic system, just like in the Taoist system, there are 14 points, and these gates that they're referring to, these are the chakras, these are the energy centers. In the physical health series begins with spinal power, with a set for spinal power. And this is about opening up that frequency in the tailbone and about getting the root chakra aligned, opened, and spinning in a healthy and whole way. So let's go back to the root chakra again. So we're talking about the healthy root chakra, and then the root chakra that may have been damaged through trauma. But then let's go to the behaviors also that go with the root chakra. So if you have an overactive root chakra or an underactive root chakra, so we spoke about blocked already. So let's go from the tight and damaged and move into the other side from there. So an underactive root chakra means that you'll have low self-esteem. So a person will have low self-esteem. They don't have much will to live. They may suffer from chronic depression, from low energy, again, because the root chakra handles adrenals. So the adrenals are what give us the energy to keep moving. That gives us the energy to be hyped, to be hyper, to move, and to be a go-getter, to go do things. So if a person is not, if the root chakra is not strong, and again, so when these petals that are spinning, these petals are going to, in an underactive root chakra, the petals are going to be weakly, poorly developed, and they're going to spin slowly. So they could be well-developed petals, but they could be spinning slowly because of some sort of trauma, or they could be poorly developed. They could be spinning at normal speed, but they're spinning but they're crumpled. And so, and if they're crumpled and spinning slowly, this is basically just fizzing down toward being fully blocked. And there are fortunately many ways to heal chakras and bring them back into alignment. But just dropping a crystal on there every now and then, I will just share with you, that is not going to do it. Unfortunately, it takes more work and dedication to open up chakras that are blocked. It is actually much easier to take an overactive chakra and bring it back into alignment than it is to take one that is blocked and open it up and get it spinning again. But it is possible. It is doable. So underactive, not much will to live, very low self-esteem, may have a poor diet, doesn't put the kind of things inside of the body, not really a fan of exercise, not really a fan of like any kind of physical movement or of doing things that require a lot of life force. People with an underactive root have a lot of difficulty, no matter how badly they want to develop wealth, to be comfortable financially. They may be the people who are always struggling. They always find themselves in debt. They're always borrowing money from someone. Can't quite seem to get it together. They're always just about to be good on that next paycheck. They may be paycheck to paycheck people. And so these types of things, and underactive people may feel like they do not have the capacity to build up wealth for themselves. So people with an underactive root may be the type of people who are more prone to stealing. They may be prone to thinking, well, there's no way I'm going to get it through my own power. So it'll only work if I just take it from someone. So those are the people, your scammers, your people who lie and cheat and things like that to get their survival needs taken care of, because they just genuinely don't believe in themselves. They don't believe that they have the capacity to handle and take care of their own survival needs themselves. So overactive, let's go to overactive is people who are almost obsessive about their survival needs. They want to build up money. They're completely fearful. No matter how much money they save, they just never feel like it's enough. They're always paying attention, watching for what accidents may be coming next, what terrible thing is going to happen, so to make sure that they have all their needs. They have lots of things around them. They may be very close with the family and feel only comfortable being around family members. They may be the type of people who feel that, like, if somebody in the family, say, moves away to another place or something, that they've been abandoned. And a lot of times, just on a side note, that if you find that you have the type of family where the family members feel like you're abandoning them, if you leave, if you go on vacation, if you move to another place, if you go away to college, a lot of times people have trauma that is handed down, it's passed down through their family line, and they have this fear of abandonment, fear of the family being broken up. And especially if your family has moved from another country, and now they're connected just to the small group of people that they know in this new country, picking up picking up your roots and moving to another place causes trauma in the root chakra. So this is it's natural to experience a closing of the root chakra out of fear, because trying to learn how to speak a new language, how to find their way around public transportation, try to find your way how to get a job, the kind of things that are required for survival, it may be difficult for people to figure these things out. And so, of course, in the time that a person spends figuring out life, figuring out survival needs, this is going to cause stress and anxiety and things like that happen in the root. So it's common. So for people who experience a lot of fear, there are times when fear is natural and normal, worry is natural and normal. It's just part of the process. When it sticks and doesn't seem to ever go away, that's when it's a problem, when it becomes an issue, and when it becomes like a reflection of a blockage. So if you've started something new, if you start something new and you're just learning, it is very common to have a closed or a slow spinning root, to have an underactive root, or also to go into an overactive root where you feel like you have to overcompensate, where you have to do more than necessary because you're afraid that your survival needs won't be met if you don't overdo things and take as much as you can. And so overactive root will be the people who are like the really heavy go-getters. They're the ones who are out there, the salesperson who's always killing it on the sales floor, and they want to go around and tell everybody, and they're the ones who brag to everybody about how much they made in sales last month, and then they want to buy the best things, the most flashy things, buying material objects and then showing off those objects to other people. Because there's nothing wrong with having material objects, of course. We are in physical bodies. Enjoying the beauties of life is incredible. It's wonderful. We're meant to do that. We're meant to be able to taste, touch, own, perceive anything that we would like to have in our experience. But when it comes to the point where people's sense of identity and their sense of pride comes from the ownership of more than the next person, or having the newest and the best and the most, when it comes from those type of things, those are reflections of a blockage. And so that is something to look out for. And so if you know somebody like that, you may want to, squeeze some flower essence drops in their water for them on their behalf. No, I don't advocate doing anything against anyone's will, so please do not. But using and that brings me to my next point, because we're getting ready to wrap up. So I do want to leave a couple of minutes for questions, just in case anybody does have them. But so we have some means of or some examples of under and overactive root chakra, some ways of parenting that can give birth to somebody with a healthy root chakra, and some circumstances in life that may temporarily close the root chakra that are not necessarily things that you may need to worry about. So let's say you unfortunately experienced some level of trauma that did close your root or damage your root chakra in some way, and you want to know, how can you heal it? So my 4 best methods that I have ever found for anything in all of my systems. I have courses on different aspects of Wadjet yoga, and yoga is not just yoga. Wadjet yoga is not just about just touching your toes or putting your leg behind your head. The sets that are in Wadjet yoga are serpent power. They're remedies to help you open up, draw power into your body, and bring life force into you, so that you actually can actualize the type of life that you're trying to live, whatever that life looks like, so that you have the power and the energy flowing through you and the magnetism to be able to draw to you and to co-create your life in the way that you want. So if your blocked root chakra is preventing you from having that type of life, I highly, highly recommend, first of all, there are Serpent Power, there are Wadjet Yoga sets, and you can go onto my channel and you can have a look at the root chakra sets that are there. There are 2 really excellent sets, and one of them is the pelvic bowl swing. So you just sit down and you rotate the body around Blessings, blessings. You rotate the body around so that it is swinging in a circle, and it's making the tailbone grind around in a circle, and so that movement, that steady movement, will start to awaken that area. You also can use essential oils. There are essential oils like any kind of light, tingling essential oil that won't interfere with your skin. Like, don't put, just straight tea tree or something like that straight on your skin. That is, some people's skin is very sensitive. Definitely not thyme oil or oregano or something like that. A light oil, like, say, frankincense, for example, peppermint, and something like that, maybe even lavender. If you put a drop of that on the tailbone, and there are other ones that work better directly for the tailbone, specifically for that energy. Oh, greetings, greetings. If you put those directly on the tailbone and just put a drop every day, and put a drop in, and when you put the drop of essential oil on your tailbone, just give yourself the intention. Just put it there with the intention that your root center is opening up, that you open to life. And so using that in the other plant, the other side of the plant kingdom, using flower essences. I have had unbelievable success in life with flower essences. Flower essences work so well. Please, peace and blessings. Peace, peace. Thanks for being here. So I have had excellent success with flower essences. And the beautiful thing that I love about flower essences is that you don't need to rehash your wounds. You don't need to go back through the pain. You don't have to relive the trauma in order for flower essences to work. If you take flower essences, and I can share some links for flower essences that I find useful. I'm not affiliated with any particular ones, so I won't share any particular ones here. But flower essences they're just vibrational medicine in water, and you squeeze the water into like a bottle of water or under your tongue, and it starts to change the frequency in your body and make you begin to vibrate at the same frequency as that flower. And each flower carries a type of frequency and an energy that has a energy and behavior pattern that goes with it. So if you have trauma going in a certain direction and you take some flower essences that help to clear that, you'll start to find that you are suddenly reacting differently to certain people, or responding differently at work, or your energy towards, or your negative thoughts towards yourself start to fade. And so you don't have to go back. You don't have to sit with a therapist for 7 years and talk about how bad your childhood was. And again, I am absolutely not advocating or denying that anybody, whatever types of therapies, I believe in joy and a happy life and a fulfilled destiny. So anything that gets you to that space is worth using and worth trying. But if you don't want to spend a great deal of time in your life on those things, then giving something like essences, or if you also don't want to go back into those things that have to mentally drag yourself through some painful things, those are excellent things to use. I specifically love remedies where they are based in my body. I love somatic remedies, and that's one reason that I created Wadjet Yoga. Somatic remedies. You do the work, and the remedy unfolds in itself without you trying. Well, I have this problem, and I need to do this, and what should I do about it? You just do the remedy every day. And then you find that you are back into a space of wholeness. You find that you are, without you having to force it or think about it or direct the flow of it constantly, you just find yourself suddenly responding to life in a different way than you did. So flower essences, essential oils on the tailbone, and flower essences that are specific for root chakra. And if you know what happened in your life that caused the blockage or the slowing down in your root chakra, you can choose flower essences that directly address that. Like, let's say, for example, sexual trauma in childhood. If you had sexual trauma in childhood and you know that your root is blocked because of that, rather than taking a generic root chakra flower essence, you might take a flower essence that is for sexual trauma, and by taking that for sexual trauma, that's going to relax, that's going to release that trauma out of you, and then your root chakra, without that pain and that pressure of that trauma still inside you, it's going to naturally open up and begin to flow normally on its own. So flower essences, the essential oil on the root, and then also next favorite up is tapping. EFT tapping. So again, I'm an EFT master practitioner, tapper. Love, and I am so grateful for the time that I was introduced to those, because I love quick remedies, and I love remedies that don't involve me having to rehash all my pain. So EFT tapping is, just in case you don't know, I can share some videos about that at another time. But EFT tapping is where you go to specific points in the body, where you go to points, and in fact, there are chakra points. There are nadis in the body, different energy centers that are also used in Chinese medicine. And those points, as you speak your words of the energy that you are trying to form, you can release by speaking certain words. Like, for example, if you want to release physical abuse out of your childhood, so you would go through and you can tap on the specific points that there are. You can tap on here, on the chest, and they're the specific points where you tap, and where that energy center is a stimulant. It sparks an opening and a release. And you can speak words, you can create a script for what it is that you're trying to release. Oh, I'm really sad. I'm worried about these bills that I have coming up. If that's something, if you have that, you find if your a weakened root chakra has you constantly in survival mode with your money, you can tap out about your anxiety for bills. And that way, once you release the anxiety for bills and you tap in and say, hey, I'm open. I don't know what way is coming to help me work this through, but some way is coming. And so you can tap to help heal root chakra issues too, to heal. But tapping works better to address particular behaviors. So I definitely recommend tapping to address the particular root chakra behaviors that you might find that you have. So if you have an overactive root chakra and you find that you have to, that you scam people, that you lie to people in order to be able to get a little more for yourself. If you have bills to pay, but you keep holding on to the money and you don't want to pay the bill because you feel like, oh, if once I let this go, what if none comes back? If you have, those type of issues, or if you're clinging to people, or if your daughter's about to go away to college and you feel terrified because, you can't believe you're letting your baby go. And you're not willing to open up and just allow life to progress. Those are root chakra issues. So you can use these. You can use tapping to tap on the specific things. So tapping isn't as good or I find it is not as good for just root chakra. Just open my root chakra. It is not as good, but it will address the specific issues that you have, that the behaviors you express because of your root chakra damage, and they'll really help with that. And then last but not least, of course, like I said already, Wadjet Yoga. So using Wadjet Yoga sets that open up the root. There are Wadjet Yoga sets for all of the chakras, and those are absolutely fantastic. And I think the best thing to do with a blocked chakra is to use a combination. But the most important thing that you can do is to do something diligently. So like, for example, a heart. So I noticed that. So I'm actually going to make so we're going to have a really long episode when we get to the heart. So next week, we're going to be doing the sacral chakra. So we're going to talk about our sexuality, our creativity, our magnetism. And in a few weeks from now, when we get to the heart, I'll be sharing, and I'll talk, because I have a 28-day heart detox, a Wadjet Yoga heart detox meditation here on my channel. And that helps to release pain, trauma, anxiety, stress, so much of the stuff that we build up when we haven't been able to forgive somebody from the past, when we haven't been able to forgive ourselves, that all those things, they weigh on us, they sit on us heavily, and they affect how our chakras open and close, and they affect the amount of life force that we're able to take in and to give out to the world around us. So getting into these spaces and healing them, thinking about the root, thinking about our body, thinking about our spirit body, just like a lot of people now have gotten very in tune with their physical bodies, and with connecting to making sure that, they drink alkaline water and have a green juice every day, and drink a smoothie. And it's wonderful. Years ago, when I became a vegetarian, you said that word to people and they just didn't even know what you were talking about. So having a healthy diet, I'm so glad to see it such a mainstream common thing. Now there are like a million diets out here, available. So from healthy, you can't just have healthy diet anymore. Now there's like, an infinite number of healthy diets, going different ways, combating all of the stuff that's in our environment, from GMO foods to, fast food to, chemicals in the food. And now we have found ways of eating healthily so that we can love our bodies, we can love on ourselves in the way that we need to make sure that our bodies are safe. When we choose organic food and not fast food, that's boundaries. We're telling these companies, no, I don't want the fake. This is real. This was made by the divine, and I'm only going to put things made by the divine in here because that's what vibrates at the same frequency as this divinity. You can keep that fake stuff, and that self-love that we have finally over these last years learned to put into our bodies. Those same levels of self-love and self-care also need to be put into our spirit bodies, because our spirit bodies are the root and the beginning and end of everything. I have been a healer for years. And so, healer, I know, is a vague term because I've done different types of healing. I was just trying to umbrella it, but I've been a nutritional therapist, a fitness coach, and I've been a health and wellness coach just overall, and have worked with people with so many issues: Crohn's disease, cancer, fibroids, all different types of situations, prostate issues, people with, sinus problems, just all types of issues, people with hair loss, all types of issues. And you would be amazed how many issues stem back to something going on in the emotional body. And the emotions, unlike what we have been taught by the mainstream, are not just some random untouchable thing that is like coming out of our brain, like just some waves coming out of our brain. Emotions are extremely real. They have a dimensional field that is their own. And so we pick up each other's dimensional fields. We all of these overlapping dimensional fields, we pick them up and we can feel into each other's fields. And so we owe it to ourselves to take care of each of those fields that we have, because those are real things. The same way that you can feel somebody staring at you from behind and you can turn around and you can notice them, that's not an accident. Every time that happens, that's you sensing their presence through your field, sensing the presence of their intention, their attention, and you're picking it up in your field. So we know that the fields are real. At this point, to be calling spirit bodies and spirit energies woo-woo is just, any tiny little bit of research. It doesn't matter which words we call it, because all of these have been scientifically proven, like the different dimensions. If we speak about it in the language of physics and mathematics, it makes sense to everyone. But yet, if we call it the layman terms, the regular terms that we use, and there are some people out here still calling these things woo-woo and fake and weird and things like that. There's something animating us that is the difference between a person sitting there alive and a person sitting there dead. And there is nobody, no matter how much they don't believe in spirits and all that and the woo-woo, not a single one of them, if you put them to the test, will get it wrong between a person that is dead and a person that is alive. They will all be able to know the difference. So at this point, we need to just tune in to the thing that is animating us, to recognize what type of frequency, what it's made of, what it needs in order for us to be healthy and well. So just like we figured out that our bodies need alkaline foods and electric foods and natural foods and things like that, let's start to really go back to basics and refocus on the kind of things that our spirit bodies need. So over this whole series, so these next seven episodes will be all about the chakras. And after we speak about that, we're going to go into the different 9 bodies. So in ancient Kemet, there are 9 bodies. So we have a physical body and we have all of these other bodies. We have an emotional body. We have a spirit guardian. We have all of these different levels. So we'll speak about those, but all of those take place on different dimensional frequencies. And these dimensional frequencies are things that have been proven at this point by physics. There's different dimensions. We're watching shows now where there's like alternate timelines and Earth 32 and Earth 118 and things like this. And so we're, looking at that without realizing that some of that stuff is real, but we're behind on realizing that, wait a second, there are actual multi-dimensions. Your body does not just exist just on your physical body exists in the physical dimension, but even that is mostly space. So what's inside the space? We have to pay attention to what's inside the space. What is in the space of you? What is in that empty space? even just our cells. If we go to our human body, we have 30 trillion cells. About 10 trillion of those cells are us, and about another 20 to 25 trillion of those cells are different bacteria, are different one-celled organisms. So if what we think of as we isn't even made up mostly of us, then what is it made of? So most of us we're not even aware of that. Did you are aware? When I found out that we're mostly bacteria, I was like, what? Like where, huh? So we have to really get to know ourselves and really understand what's there. So if most people don't even know that they're mostly bacteria, the fact that they're mostly interdimensional space, and that space has texture and function and responds to other dimensions in its own specific way, in predictable and measurable ways. All of these different bodies have that capacity. And so once we start to learn them and we start to know how they are and we start to learn what they can do, that's when we develop the capacity to change how we move in the world, how we change how we look, how we show up in the world, what type of stuff we'll put into ourselves, what type of thoughts we'll allow, and things like that. So real self-love comes down to not just loving this physical body. It comes down to loving all of us, the whole entire thing. And it becomes a process. So it becomes this joyful process of learning all of the pieces. So let's relearn. So for everybody who already knows about all the chakras, come back, join me again next week and learn all about the chakras again. So like I said, next week we'll be talking about the sacral. We'll be speaking about sexuality, creativity, and about different things, the same way as this, what a healthy development brings out to make a healthy sacral chakra, what a blocked sacral comes from, what type of development issues cause blockages, and then that timeline, that distance between a low vibrating or low spinning to an overemphasized sacral chakra, and all of those things, and then how we can bring those things into balance. And so I will see you all next week. And once again, my name is Raven. I am the Fly Priestess. And thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to see all of you. I appreciate you joining me. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, to do all those things. And then just to tune in, if you subscribe and you can put the notifications, you'll get a notification for when the podcast comes out next week. And I will see you there. And I aim every week to share more in-depth information, and so that this whole series comes something that we can tune back into, sort of like our own Library of Alexandria right in here. So thank you all. I hope you have an amazing night. I hope your root chakras are flowing and functioning at their maximum capacity. And I will see you guys next week. Lots of love.